Hello, this is Melissa, the insurance exam queen, and I am so excited to be here to support you all with passing your insurance state exam so you can become incredible insurance agents. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Like the video and also drop a comment below about what state you're in and what test you are taking. And I will drop a description about what is most important within your state and how I can best support you. You can also find support in our Facebook group. If you just Google or search, I guess you don't Google on Facebook, right? If you were to search on Facebook Insurance Exam Queen, it will pop up. But you can also find the link in the YouTube banner on my main channel. There is a little tiny Facebook button. And then you can also check out my website, insuranceexamqueen.com, where you can find all my class series that will cover the most tested topics within your state and to help you be able to secure a pass with ease and flow and not be burdened down by all the information that you have to study within your course. So one of the trickiest things I think that comes on the casualty side of the exam is occurrence versus claims made policies. Now, this is coming from CGL, General Commercial Liability. And this is the liability that comes like if you're a doctor or you're a lawyer and you need to have insurance on yourself so that if you harm anybody within your practice or whatever it is that you're doing, or somebody gets hurt, whatever, you have insurance to cover yourself. And there are two main policies that you can get. There's the occurrence form, and then there's the claims made form. And they can be kind of confusing about what the heck is happening. But if you focus in on these main points that I'm about to say, it'll help make all of it make sense. And you can answer the majority of the questions that pop up with occurrence versus claims made. An occurrence policy will cover any claim that occurs during an active policy, even if the claim shows up years later, okay? So for instance, let's say you're a doctor, you have an active policy, you perform a surgery. You make a mistake, but the mistake is not caught. Nobody realizes it. Maybe you nicked something or you left gauze in the body. I don't know, okay? But you made a mistake in the surgery. 5 years later, it comes to light that there was a problem, there's an issue, and now this patient is suing you. What they would do is say, well, what policy was active at the time that the surgery occurred? That will be the policy that will pay out. And it will pay out whenever, even if this claim is 5 years, 10 years, 20 years into the future, as long as there was an active policy when the claim occurred, or not when the claim occurred, when the incident occurred that caused the claim to be filed, because you have a loss date, the incident date, the surgery date, and then you have the date the claim was actually made. In an occurrence policy, they don't care when the claim is made. They only care when did the claim occur. And as long as there is an active policy when the claim occurred, that is the policy that will pay out. Then, and that's the best type of policy that you can have. It'll cover you forever, like during that active time, right? Now, if I'm a doctor for 10 years and I only have an occurrence policy for the first 5, they're only going to cover me for the first 5. Anything that happens in the other 5 years that I don't have insurance, I have no coverage, okay? So you have to have an active policy the whole time that you're a doctor, the whole time that you have your business, so that if a claim ever does arise, then they can go back to the policy you had when it occurred, and that would be the policy that will pay out. So as long as there was an active policy at the time of the loss, regardless of when the claim was filed, that is a policy that will pay out. And that's the best you can have. On the other side, you have claims made. Now, claims made actually really sucks, because a claims made policy says in order for the claim to be covered, it had to be made during the active policy, and the date of the loss has to also have occurred within the active policy. So with the claims made, you can't go 10 years out into the future and have a problem that comes back to, the 10 years prior and have it covered, because you have to have claims made says there has to be an active policy when you make the claim and when the loss occurred. Both things have to happen within the active policy period, okay? So there's no going into the future and filing a claim and being covered like there was on the occurrence. Now, a claims made policy since it really does suck, they put in a little buffer at the beginning and a little buffer at the end. The buffer at the beginning would be called a retroactive period. And basically, this is like how far back will the insurance company cover you for any claims that may have arisen. So, like, let's say you started your business, a year ago, and only 6 months in did you actually start insurance, and like you didn't realize you needed insurance. So you talk to the insurance company, you say, can we put my retroactive date 6 months back to when my business started? If they agree to that, then you can do that, but they have to agree to it, and you're certainly going to pay a premium if they backdate. So they set the retroactive date to the date that you actually started your business. Now, you didn't have an active policy at that time, but because of the retroactive date, it will give you active coverage between the retroactive date and to whenever the policy ends. Then when you retire or you quit and you don't need your insurance anymore, though, it's still possible that a claim may arise later on. Like we said, you can perform a surgery or you can do something and we don't know about it until later that it actually caused a problem. So with a claims made policy, this is where we get into trouble. If you retire and you quit and you no longer have an active policy and then a claim arises, you have no coverage. So the little buffer at the end is called tail coverage. And this is basically an open window of time where any claims can be reported, made. And as long as you had active coverage at the time of the actual loss and you're in the tail coverage, then they would go ahead and cover the claim. The tail coverage is sometimes also called an extended reporting period, where you have a certain amount of time that you can submit a claim and that you would still be covered. So this is kind of like, think of like the tail or supplementary reporting period as like retirement. I go into retirement, I don't have my business anymore, but in case any claims pop up from the work that I've done prior, it will be covered. But you have to pay like double the premium to get that extended reporting period and to get that tail coverage. It's so much better to have an occurrence that, as long as there was an active policy at the time the loss happened, regardless of when the claim is made, it would be covered. So occurrence, again, in summary, an occurrence policy will cover any claim that occurred during the active policy, regardless of when a claim is filed or made. A claims made policy will only cover losses between the retroactive date and the policy expiration, as long as the claim was made during the retroactive date and the policy expiration, unless you have an extended reporting period where you can then file a claim at that time. And if you fall within the extended reporting period, then that claim could be covered as well. Okay. The key thing is knowing any claims with the claims made between the retroactive date and the policy expiration or the extended reporting period, if they have one, the claims will be covered then. But any claims outside of that, like if I have, like I said, let's say I started my business, and let's say they didn't do the retroactive date 6 months for me, right? So let's say I started my business a year ago, and I didn't know that I started, what was the example I said? I started my business, a year ago, and I didn't, and it was only like 6 months in that I realized I needed to set insurance. So I asked for the retroactive date to go back 6 months. They don't have to do that. If they don't agree to it, then they won't do it. So let's say they won't set the retroactive date 6 months back. They only set it like 30 days back. They only set it back 1 month. So that means I have exposure for the first 5 months that I was in business. If anything were to happen during that time, and then they may make the claim during my active policy, but a claims made has to not only be made during the active policy, the loss has to occur within the active policy. And if it occurred prior to the retroactive date, there is zero coverage for me. Zero, none, zilch. It would suck really, really bad. So that's the difference between the claims made and the occurrence. Occurrence, whatever policy was made, whatever loss occurred during the policy is covered regardless of when the claim is made. Claims made is a policy that will only cover claims between the retroactive date and the policy expiration, and the claim has to be made during that time as well. Okay, I have a much longer in-depth video inside the gold course. So again, I have class series, which teaches this information longer in depth with a whiteboard and pretty notes available. You can find that all on insuranceexamqueen.com. Drop any questions that you have below. And again, if you tell me the state that you're in and the test you are taking, I will give you a description of what's important. It's a big long message because it goes into detail about what chapters are most important. So please read the whole message. It'll help answer a lot of questions that you have. And again, please like, subscribe to this channel and join our Facebook group. And I'm so excited and looking forward to helping you out and securing that pass for you so that you can become an insurance agent. I'm sending you all the loves, all the vibes of pass your exam. Have a wonderful day.